allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Lord, be with us today as we deliberate the business of the county. Help us, Lord, to keep in mind your teachings, your wish for us. Help us, Lord, to just do the right thing, be kind, be good. Help us, Lord, to have a great day. I ask all these things, Lord, in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Steve. Okay, have you guys had a chance, as I should say, Steve, have you had a chance to look at the minutes?
I have. Looks good. Make a motion to approve.
Okay, I'll second that, so. All right. Do you want to do anything, or you want me to just bring?
Since Dr. Ainsworth could get called out or something, I'd go ahead and bring him up before
Okay.
mine.
We're going to jump ahead on the agenda. We've got Dr. Ainsworth here as our county health officer and representing the health board. So if you'd like to come up, I appreciate it.
So basically, just here, I think is a formality to seek permission to opt in for the Help Indiana First funding that will come from the state. Purpose of this funding is to address inadequacies in the public health fund or our public health metrics throughout the state. Indiana doesn't rank very well nationally in a lot of metrics. And each county within the state has certain metrics that they've failed to address very well. And the purpose of this grant will be to provide more additional resources that we can target the areas that we have need for. But in order to move forward with that, I do need permission from the commissioners to technically opt in, and then we can move forward with that. We won't find out exactly how much funding we're going to get until actually after September 1st, because there is a certain pot of money that will be distributed amongst the counties that do opt in. So there is a minimum that we've been assured of for the first year that could be as much as 150,000 more maximum, depending on how many opt in, and then that number does go up quite a bit substantially for the second year. So are there any questions about this program?
This is a matching grant, correct?
There is a county match to a point, but I'm not sure exactly the finance. I don't know if Tony can address that a little more.
From what I understand, what we are already spending on our health department in the county satisfies our
Match.
part of the match.
That is my understanding. I don't think it changes.
So it wouldn't be any additional money out of our budget.
This starts
to satisfy.
next year.
Yeah, starting in January, correct.
By the way, this is resolution 2023-23. So if you approve opting in, that is the resolution number. I have the paperwork here. If you guys approve this and sign it, I will get copies to Dr. Ainsworth, also up to the health department, to Mark if he needs one, and we will have one, and then this will get sent to the state, and then they'll keep in touch on what's going on and so forth.
So Steve, if you have any thoughts, or Mark, if you have any thoughts, I'd sure welcome discussion before we vote.
My understanding is we really don't give up any local control with this grant. Is
Right.
that correct?
Right.
And for the most part, the things that we're being asked to do are things that you all in the health department either are already doing or believe we should be doing.
Yeah, and for the most part, they're what we're already doing.
Right.
It's just going to give us more
More money to do it with.
resources to expand what we're able to do. We will likely contract with outside organizations, which we are allowed to do some of these projects for us so that we don't have to bring on an excessive amount of staff. We do anticipate we'll need to bring on at least one or two individuals whose salary, and that would be covered by this grant. But by the ability to contract out some of this work, it will help us minimize how much of that we need to do.
It might be mentioned too that Carla, the health department, is seeking a grant for a school liaison, which would be part of opting in.
Yeah.
That's one of the requirements, that this grant would actually pay for that rather than take it out of the money if they receive the grant. It's what Shannon worked on as far as the description and so forth. And I think that's even posted, right, Shannon? So that's part of this whole scenario.
I'll just make a note that in communication with Dr. Smith at the hospital, he wanted to make sure that y'all knew that he definitely supported this move also from Adams Health Group.
All right, it's 2023-23. Resolution adopted, resolved by the Board of Commissioners as follows. The Board of County Commissioners, Indiana supports initiatives sustain and maintain poor public health services at the county level with local input and flexibility to meet the needs of the community. The Board of Commissioners of the County of Adams commits to the county's right to self-direct and acknowledges that by opting in and accepting these funds, it retains authority and control of the county health department otherwise afforded to it under state law or code pursuant to. Then there's a code citation just adopted today if you approve it. So you just need a motion to approve this resolution 2023-23.
Now, there's only one spot. Does Stan need to sign that only and then my attestation, or is it all three?
I would have all three signed.
There's only one space, so you guys will just need to.
They could sign below.
Mark, do you have any thoughts on that?
No, I guess anytime you get involved with grant funds, then there's usually strings attached. Just got to be aware of what those strings are. But it sounds like it's worth doing.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All right, motion carries. Thanks for your recommendation, Mike, and thanks for the work that you do for the health department. Anyone?
Hey, Doc, thank you. One question. You know how much money overall the state's going to spend in this program, the total amount of money, a billion or two or three? Or
I don't have that exact number.
I'll have to write
Do
it
you
down.
know, for the whole state.
You know, Tony?
No, Rob, so you could find that though by looking at the state website under probably Governor Holcomb's health initiative, and it'll give that to you. I'll make you do some homework.
Okay.
Thank you.
You want all three of us to sign it?
Oh, he doesn't, okay.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
All right, sorry.
Yeah, Mark suggested all three of you, so.
All right. Sounds good. All right, Tony, what else do you have for us?
Okay. I have Allied weekly health insurance claims, and those are in the amount of $28,707.64. Of that, well, there were voids or stop loss of $81,234.11. So the beginning, it's hard to read. 109,941.75 was the total before the stop loss. So after the stop loss, all medical 28,707.64, and I did sign off. So you also are proving that I looked and made sure they are all our claimants.
So I'd take a motion to approve.
So move.
Second.
All right. Make that a few.
Okay, and I had passed out to you all a few minutes ago the monthly weights and measures report from Dan Hackman.
Wait till I'll get a copy.
Yeah, and I think Eric's got a copy.
Thanks, sir.
Okay.
No red tags.
Make a motion to accept this report.
Second.
All right. Accept that report on the record. Thank you.
And we have utilities paid into WOW as of yesterday. And the amount of utilities paid in WOW is $36,682.13. I had passed that out to you before the meeting as well. It's $36,682.13 for the utilities paid in WOW.
So moved.
Second.
Second. Motion carries.
Okay. And then the only other thing that we have in order to, I know we have some on hand, so rather than sit through the entire meeting, we can go ahead if you like, if you're prepared for the insurance broker of record. I think I'm saying that right. They all came earlier this month to speak to you all. And I think it's been, what, a couple weeks or so? So I would let you all discuss or do whatever you are deciding to do on that. If you want to add more information.
Okay, yeah, what we did, we invited, 3 agencies. We invited Graber Insurance Agency, Hope Group, and Bixler Insurance Agency to present to us. And the, reasoning was we wanted to choose a broker of record rather than have everyone bid on individual, bids for our insurance needs. So I guess what I would do at this time, after having interviewed each of the 3 agencies individually, without the other agencies present, and after some discussion, I would open it up to response from the other commissioners on your thoughts. But I do want to say I appreciate everyone coming in to participate. We've asked for their time and their presentation, so I do appreciate that from all the agencies very much. So.
I really don't have anything to add to that.
I thought the presentations were all 3 real good, and to me, in my mind, it came down to who we thought was going to best represent the county from a commercial standpoint, be able to get us best into the markets. And I think, to me, it was kind of the level of attention that I thought that we could get from the individual brokers. It's kind of what helped me make my decision.
Well, I think we've got 3 very qualified agencies, so it was not an easy thought process to go through. So I guess at this time, if you want to take action to choose a broker of record for the liability insurance for the county, I would accept a motion to that effect.
I'll make a motion that we accept Bixler Insurance.
Second that motion.
Okay, if there's no other discussion, then motion would carry. So,
Thanks.
but
everybody.
once again, I thank everybody for participating, for sure. So. All right, thank you, Tony. Anything else?
That's all I have.
Okay. All right, Brad, do you have anything for us?
Couple things.
All right, you never let us down.
I'm sorry, I'm going to the next. Again, Jason Newsbaum with the 4-H board. Help us. Let him.
Oh, that is all right.
Thank you for using the parking lot for, storing stuff. It went well at the fair and we didn't have any issues. So I'm just bringing Brad's key back and wanted to thank you publicly. So.
Yeah, so you had a little bit additional parking space that they offered, I think, back behind the building.
Yeah, that worked great.
And then you've got the new, parking lot that was put in to the south of the arena, and that went well.
Yeah, really well.
Because I didn't get stuck in the mud anymore.
It's a good
So
thing.
that was nice, so, yeah.
I think it's a good collaboration we have between the fair and the highway garage and the school, and everything is there in such tight space that we have to work together. And over the many years that I've paid attention there, it seems like it's a really great collaborative effort and certainly worth the work. And thanks for everything that you guys do and putting on a great fair for us and for our kids. I really appreciate the focus on the kids.
Bro, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Have a good
Jason.
day.
So this morning, my first order of business, before I forget, I better say this, Dan kind of reminded me of it. Next Tuesday, actually, I won't be here. I'll see if there's anything, any permits or anything needs done. One of the ladies in the office will come up and do that, just so I don't forget. All right, so last week, we opened the paint striping quotes and went ahead and made a more official bid tabulation sheet.
Thank you.
Sure. Brad, can you tell us who of these bidders have worked for us before?
The Victory Trucking, Three Rivers Barricade, and the Air Marking Company have worked for us before.
Any issues with either of those two from
Nope.
past work experience?
Actually, the air marking was before my time,
Okay.
but no, nobody's ever said there's been any issues. And just an interesting side note, so when you send these projects out to be bid or quote, there are companies out there that their job is they get all this stuff and then they advertise it. Well, a couple of these other companies, I didn't even know, but they saw it on their sites or whatever and turned bids in for it. So now,
Is there a difference in the quality of paint they use that stay on longer, or
no, that's,
is it all the same quality, or?
there are two different qualities of paint, and my understanding, what I've learned is you got this multi-component paint, which is basically what the state, it's kind of NDOT specs. But there's also a thermoplastic paint, and it's more expensive, but what they use that for is the more heavily trafficked areas. So like on your highways,
Is that like when you step on it, it's like raised? Is that?
Yeah,
Do you
yeah.
feel a?
yeah, it's the high traffic, they're getting run over every day, like at intersections, across
Crosswalks, things like that.
Yeah, and it is more expensive.
Did they kind of bake that on? Is that
Yeah,
thermoplastic? Yeah,
yes, exactly. It's melted into the surface.
yeah.
Yeah.
But this is what we typically see in the yellow lines down the center and the
Yeah,
white
yes.
striping on the sides,
Yes.
just paint.
That is correct.
Make a motion to approve the low bidder of the air marking company.
Oh, and just so you know, if you took notes last week, I transposed the little number there a little bit, so, I mean, it didn't change the outcome.
Yeah.
And it was only, yeah.
I'll second that.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second to approve the earmarking company for
Mark, do I need to have Stan sign this?
$12,560
Yeah, let's see.
feet.
Down there.
Where's it from? Let's see what town or city.
They are out of Rochester, Indiana.
Yeah.
And roughly what areas are all they gonna be?
So this year, all of Pickle Road, so from the state line to Decatur, and then once we hit Decatur, then Pickle and Monmouth, and that whole area there. And then 000 from Monroe to the Covered Bridge Road.
And then you gotta fog seal that first?
Yes, we will. Had some issues with equipment. Of course, we waited until our last 2 days of chip seal to start giving us issues. But we should be done here in the next couple days, chip sealing. And then I don't know if we'll go next week. Kind of like to let that stuff get run over some, get smushed in good, and then we'll go back, and the process is we send our sweeper out, they sweep all the loose stone off, then we'll fog seal it, and then the paint striping in the quotes, I requested from September 25th to October 31st is your window. So it should still, it'll be warm enough for them to do it, so.
Very good.
Oh, Minnick Road, but we're doing Minnick Road too.
Hmm.
So,
Is that fog sealing something
Sign
like
right there and then
47?
print in there.
yeah, the state
His
does
name
that same
and-
process. They chip seal and then they fog
Board of
seal.
Adams County Board
and
of
then they'll
Commissioners
paint
below
stripe.
that.
And we did Winchester Road 2 years ago. We did the same process.
Who needs to sign
So, and
it?
also what
Dan
happens
right
here,
here,
when you
and
spray it
below.
black, everybody's like, all right, hey, it's black, this is awesome.
And then here, print it.
It's still gonna
print it
wear.
in. Okay,
And you'll see it start to fade, but
gotcha.
Change of subject was, they gonna start blacktopping 400 sooner?
I have a meeting again tomorrow with Brooks
Probably
Construction.
put
who got the
president
bid
right there, or chairman
crossings.
there.
And we're finalizing all the piping we're doing in Lynn Grove, finalizing their inlets and that so they can get them built. Their goal was to be started by the end of August, beginning of September, but there again, we all know how that kind of goes, so, but yes,
I didn't know what the dates were on that.
yeah, there is no set date yet.
Shoot. It will be this fall though.
I'm not saying a word. So,
Thanks, Brad.
yeah. You know, it's amazing, when I first started, I wasn't afraid to say, oh yeah, I've learned. Yeah, just,
Hey, Brad, what are those dates again, September 25th to the 1st?
September 25th
25th.
to October 31st. Their window of when we want them to put the stripes down. All right, my next item. I have two permits. They are both with NIPSCO, Nice Horse, doing business as NIPSCO. And it's gas line, it's service lines, basically it's the small line going from Maine up to people's house. The first one is on County Road 400 West, between County Road 550 North and US Highway 224. And that was 100, I think both of them were 150 feet of 1-inch service line. The second one is on County Road 100 East, between 900 North and 1000 North. And again, it's installing a service line up to individual's house. And I went out and looked, their gas mains are already there, so they just got to dig up the gas main, tap into it and run it up, so.
Does it have a township listed on there or not?
Yes, it does, Tony.
You knew I was gonna ask.
So 100 East between 900 and 1000 North is Root.
Okay.
The 400 West between 224 and 550 North is Kirkland.
Thank you.
So those are the only two I have.
Okay, I take a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, thank you.
So while that's coming down, we received our monthly draw again for August. And just as a reminder on this. And there again, I can't remember why. I know I've been told, but August is always a down month. And I'm not sure why. But if you look back in the past other years, it's always the same.
The other page is local road.
Well, I guess it is.
My name state money, get it done for many, many years, decades. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Mostly gasoline.
Wonder if it has anything to do with their budget cycle.
See, and that's what I kind of wonder too. Because just looking at it, I'll read them off, but just looking at it, it's normally about half what all the other months are. People aren't driving any less in July, that would feed in August, so.
I mean, if they just use that to as a month to reconcile.
Exactly, yes. All right, so for the month of August, the MVH monthly draw, $163,956.55. $163,956.55. And there again, if you look at the other side, the local road and street, it's the same way. For the month of August, the local road and street monthly draw, $25,532.56. $25,532.56.
All right, any questions for Brad on that? Need a motion to enter that
So
in the
moved.
record?
Second.
Thank you.
So basically on everything, like I said, we're just about done chip sealing. And after that, we'll get the mowers back out again. So places that haven't been getting mowed, we'll get them back out again. And then, like I said, we're going to be doing more patching. So the guys are going to do the small spots in the roads and that, and continue to do that. And then, I don't know, next week, the week after, we're going to go fog seal. So,
Get your big trucks back on the road okay?
no,
No?
No, the one we took up to Fort Wayne for steering issues, they had to order the steering gears. And of course, you know, there's a shortage nationwide. And we did get one of them back up and going. But the other one that had the fuel issues, no, we don't have that back either. So, no. So thankfully, I will say though, we don't normally do it. We use tandem axle trucks to chip seal. This year, we've been using 3 single axles and using everybody we can to run them. And we're getting it done. It's been working, so, but yeah.
Good deal.
Yeah.
Thanks, Brad.
Anything on the Burming machine?
Yeah, as soon as we're done chipping sealing and getting our fog seal done. The fog seal, I will not take time to explain. Fog seal, the process on that, it's a thinner oil. You spray it down. It has a flash. So it's really, really runny and it'll hit, depending on the weather, could be a half hour, could be an hour. That stuff just kind of, they call it a flash, and it kind of dries. So when we close those roads down, they're going to be closed until that flashes because you don't want anybody driving through that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, after we get that done, and then we'll get the burn. Yeah. So it's probably,
And we would look like 000 all the way from Monroe to 21st.
we only do a mile at a time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we don't close the whole thing down. We close a mile, spray it, let that set up, and then move to the next one. And we've talked to, sometimes those main roads will do only half the width, but then it's taking you twice as long to do the whole thing. Yeah,
All
That's
right.
it.
A lot going on while the weather's good.
exactly. Yes, thank you.
So Brad, the fog seal is shiny. It's a shiny thing. You can see
Makes it black,
Make it black.
turns it black.
Make it black. Okay,
Yep.
I didn't, okay. I didn't put it.
All right. Rick, you got anything for us?
Just got a few updates for you. Prosecuting attorney's office is without AC right now. Judd was in, worked on it all afternoon. Believe his sensor's out of it. He had a call into Mitsubishi. They called this morning. We located one, but it's in Illinois. So they'll next day air it tomorrow. Some of Jeremy's staff is in room 125, working over here. Been in communication with Jeremy since 9 a.m. this morning, so fortunately it had to happen this week.
So that didn't affect any of their offices, like the clerk's office? You guys are good as far as air conditioning and stuff?
Right now, it's just that one unit,
Okay.
that whole stretch of office, his office.
Well, I'm glad we had that room for them to use,
Yeah.
125.
Rick, do we have several of those units throughout the system? Is that something we maybe would want to stock one of those?
Actually, usually with those units, it's been like a freon leak or something.
Yeah.
It just, Judd just ran all kinds of voltage tests yesterday, 7:30 last night. Tried to narrow it down. He's only really had to call Mitsubishi probably once or twice on anything he's had. He didn't even find the sensor. He had to wait to get word from them to where it was located and tested, so. And unfortunately, it wasn't in Fort Wayne, it's in Illinois.
Yeah.
I've got an email from Jeremy, just kind of reading down through that. Part of it says, these types of events happen, and I wanted you three to be aware that I'm grateful for the efforts and communication from Judd and Rick, as well as the option to temporarily move staff to 125. So he's appreciative of what you are doing to solve the problem, that's for sure.
I know it's inconvenience, but.
Yeah.
Moving on, hopefully next week the roof will be started here. As of now, I've not heard anything different. Also, Service Electric will be in, kind of running power out of the basement, trying to get panels into that power room. So they should start next week also. Last that I knew, they should be here.
Any word on the generator? When to expect it?
Last November or December
Okay,
should be.
so do we have to get that pad poured out there, or is that?
Yeah, I'm just waiting on when Shamball could come start that project. They haven't gave me a date on that yet. I
Okay.
just spoke with Gene, I guess it's Friday. We haven't heard anything back, but I just scanned them that signed signature that they wanted. Quote. So
Good.
hopefully we'll hear something back from them of a start date. On top of everything that I've mentioned, one of our custodians, Yolanda Baker, will be out approximately 4 to 6 weeks, starting Monday on some procedures that she has to have. So just bear with us. It'll be just me and Phil for the time being, getting these buildings clean. We'll get there, bathrooms.
Is it something to bring in temporary help?
Well, myself and Shannon, we've kind of worked on that, and I got to follow up with her. We thought we had an individual that would be able to do it, but kind of had a no-show the last couple of days for training, so.
Yeah, not a good start.
So it's not a good start. That being said, maybe that's been rectified. I just got to get with Shannon. If not, it'll be the two of us until we can. So,
Get some help. Don't.
a lot of different other things going on, but that's about all I got. So we'll have a lot going on.
Yeah. Yeah, you're exactly right. There's a lot going on, so appreciate you following through with all the projects.
So,
All right, anything else for Rick?
Thanks, Rick.
thank you.
Looks like the shredding went off without a hitch. You had a lot of boxes to go through.
Yeah, there was, over 6,000 pounds here at this facility and over 2,000 pounds at the courthouse. So, anybody wants their boxes back, please get them.
So now we probably got a couple empty rooms upstairs after getting rid of them all.
Well, I'd like to, but
Any leaks up there?
yeah.
Yeah, all right, thank you. All right, Ed,
Morning, gentlemen.
morning.
Got a couple different things here today. Today is our day that we're going to open up the bids for the RFP. I'm going to give you guys a very simplified form that I utilized 2 years ago when we went through this process last. It really works well to compare apples to apples between all the bids. I found out that some people have little tiny thin bids that will suffice. And others have pretty big fat ones that have a lot of stuff that I'm not necessarily interested in. But if you're all right, we can go ahead and start.
Do you want us to
No,
keep track of these on here while we?
No, I
Okay.
just wanted to show you what I use, and I will, with your permission, this is how we did it 2 years ago. I'll open the bids in front of you, and then you just let me take it under advisement. I'll spend the next week with my staff to go through everything. We take our time because this is an important process, and we just figure it out, and that's my tally sheet basically is what I gave to you. And I'll have all this down here next week when we actually have the vote on who is awarded the bid for 2 year. And I'm the treasurer, I'm part of the committee, but I'm a non-voting person. You three are the votes for that next week. So go ahead.
Yep,
First one up is F&M Bank, formerly Farmers and Merchants, formerly Bank of Geneva. And they're one of the thinnest ones. I will say all 4 banks that we work with do a wonderful job, and I'm very happy with all of them. So, it's here. I'm not gonna go through, all the different things, but I did send out a specification sheet that all of them are to go by. And it looks like everything's here on that for F&M Bank.
That's what I wondered, like when we take bids through the highway department and stuff, we have to have the non-collusion form and all that stuff. I mean, is that something we want to look
I
at?
don't really need the non-collusion form.
Right, but I mean, other specs that you might
But I do
have.
have a specification sheet that has quite a bit of detail to it. You can, and it's 2 pages. I
Yeah.
can give you a copy of this if you wish.
Well, no, that's right. I just wondered if those are things we needed to look at as you open the bids or.
Yes, in prior years before I was on, there was some issues with banks being all over the place on what they wanted to do. And I wanted to make sure that everybody was apples to apples as much as I could get them. So I formulated this specification sheet 2 years ago. And it really keeps everybody focused on what I'm looking for.
Okay,
This isn't a public works project, so this is for services, so it doesn't have the same requirements as far as non-collusion affidavits and things like that. It's not
Okay.
construction.
But it really does work to keep everybody, there's a lot of fluff.
I just have one. You know they got everything that you're required just by opening it up and saying that they've got it. I'm just curious.
Well, I will go in detail
Oh,
with the
okay.
specifications in that.
All right.
And I saw the one page there that addressed everything.
After you take it under advisement, he needs to review and make sure
Gotcha.
that all the bidders complied with the specifications.
so I guess part of my question is, as you open these, there is nothing that you would find in the envelope that would disqualify a bidder?
No,
Today.
not today.
Not today?
Yeah.
Okay,
I don't expect any of these to be disqualified because they've all gone through the process before.
good.
Unless they would decline to bid, they could decline to bid.
They can decline a bid, but I did not have it. Working with
Gotcha.
4 banks, we have four bids. They all came in by the deadline Friday, last Friday.
Okay.
Next one up is First Bank of Bern. Do this alphabetically. First Bank of Bern is our primary operating bank right now. And they have all of their good people here and all their leaders. There's a lot of new stuff as far as how do I want to say it, as far as the people scamming us, trying to scam us, security, and a lot of the things that they do to help us in that regard. It's way above what anything that I could even describe. They are, they're leaders of the pack as far as security. Cash management services, security services, payables, receivables. They offer a business credit card. We don't use that. They do have direct deposit with our payroll. We do that. Remote capture, they do that. All the particular people that I work with is all listed. It's nice to have all the good contact information, but a good to hear from. First Bank of Bern. Up next is First Merchants Bank, formerly Decatur Bank and Trust, probably something in between there.
Nothing in between there.
Pardon?
Nothing in between there.
Okay, so one to the other. And they gave me several copies, looks like the same thing here. I work real closely with them. They were a prior primary bank at one time before my time. They have copies of the specs. They're paying attention to everything. They write down, one of the big things is what type of interest rate they're proposing. All banks are relatively close. They all ask me for an audit. Steve, you'd be familiar with this, that they ask for all of our transactions. They usually want 2 or 3 different months throughout the year on how many transactions we have for this or that or anything else. I supplied them, everybody, that if somebody asked for a specific sheet, I made sure all 4 banks received it. Regardless of who asked for it, I gave it to all of them. Just wanted to be as open and as front with everybody as to be. And so a good bid here from First Merchants. And the last one here is from Flagstar Bank. I brought scissors because I see this is one of those James Bond things.
Get a chainsaw.
But I purposely want to keep these private and open these up in front of you guys, so you know that I'm not adding anything to anybody. Looks like they have a soft cover of the very same thing. Let's put it in here, but their proposal, pricing, rate information. Flagstar does a good job as well. All four banks really do a good job for us, and I'm happy with the relationships we build up with all of them. I want to keep that going. We keep money in all four of them, and I will continue to keep money in all four of those. But we need one bank that does our day-to-day paying the bills. And that's what you guys will pick next week. I'll go through these, take my time with the staff. We'll do one a day and just talk it over all day long. And then we'll go to the next one, and the next one, and the next one. But by the end of the week, it's, at least 2 years ago, it was pretty apparent who was the winner on that. If you'll notice on the bank comparison thing, I gave you the tally sheet down at the bottom. I put how many branches are in Adams County, where their headquarters is located at, and then the very final line, the percentage of taxes that they collected for us in the spring of this year. And it just kind of, even though those aren't necessarily items that would make a difference in the overall operation, I think it's important that we know that. And there's that. So that's all I have as far as the RFP. Once again, I'll go through all those and then we'll let you guys vote on that. That is next week, 9 a.m., because that's an official financial planning committee meeting for you guys. And
Make sure I got that on my.
9 a.m. Okay, taxes overall, I was hoping to tell you 99%, but it's 98.99%. That's this one. So hopefully next week I'll get to that 99%. Our goal is 97%, and we're way past that.
You could have went out and shook somebody down for that last.
Well, yeah. I don't like the headlines that would do. Our tax sale is October 31st at 1 o'clock in this room. We have 27 parcels as of this morning. And that's all I have, unless you guys have any questions.
All right. Very good. And do you have the new postage machine yet?
Postage machine, I ordered it Tuesday after our meeting. It was here Wednesday afternoon.
Wow.
And they're not here yet this morning, but they're supposed to be here today to install it.
Very
So
good.
it's all set there, and I never touched it, just to make sure it was all here.
Will
So
they
hopefully
take-
by this afternoon, that's what we'll do the rest of the days with.
Will they take the old one away?
Probably not today.
But they will?
They will,
Okay.
and they'll dispose for it and everything. I was hoping there'd be a trade-in, but we can't trade it in. And we cannot sell it outright to somebody else. Post office won't let us. So a machine that's been working good for us for 8 years, they're just gonna set it on a shelf or toss it away or something, but
Yeah.
that's out of our hands.
Okay. Very good. Anything else for Ed?
Thanks, Ed.
All right. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Hey, is that tax figure one of our all-time best, or how's it 98.99? How's that figure?
It's not as good as we were last year, but it will be by the end of the year.
But, okay.
Yes.
What was last year? 99 something?
99.347, 357.
Good memory.
Yeah. You were first in the state last year, so I'm proud of that.
All right. Very good. Okay, Mark Wynn, you have anything for us? Yep.
Sorry.
Should have 3.
That's all right.
They were still talking. I thought we were still, I didn't hear you call my name.
Well, if you want to wait till Ed and Eric quit talking, it might be a while.
Let's start taking it outside.
Yep.
Thank you, sir. Good deal. This is Brad. those.
easements. We're almost keeping pace. Only 3 less permits this month in July as compared to the year before. 44 permits given out. Which is still causing me to drive a lot of miles, which is good.
That one new electrical service, would that have been for Red Bull or that?
Oh,
That's quite an electrical service.
I thought that would have been for that remodel.
Review a copy. I'll get a copy to Facebook.
That was Red Bull. They had a different one in the middle of their plant.
So they had to move it.
Yeah, it wasn't the new building, this was like down south. They did one.
Is that the upgrade or this new service?
Yeah, great.
Good. Make a motion to accept this report from Mark.
So moved. Second.
All right, very good. Thanks for that report.
I've got 2 subdivisions.
Don't touch this. Yeah, don't touch it.
200 south, 300 west. Taking this long rectangle, just one piece, and 3 lots. Smallest lot's 2.5, then 5, and the remainder was 3.
This is the access to that.
Yep, back. Yes, sir. 36.
Is this a road?
It is not. 200's just a little bit above it up here, right on it, and then it's on 300.
Motion approved. Second.
Yes.
Okay.
We use these guys before your time.
2.5 and 5.
You
Stay not on that line, 2.5 and 5.
For your time.
3 lots. Yes, sir.
I hate to tell you, Eric, but I can't read any of it.
Oh, yeah, I can make it out. It's kind of special.
Same deal, single lot turning into 3. 300, 300, 250, so it's on 3 rows. And this one's a piece, lot there, small lot there, remainder here. 3 lots. This is Swartz Steel on the corner. I remember that. His son's gonna be basically buying his business, taking it over, and his son's gonna build him a house in this lot right here. There's already 2 homes on this lot. So that one's done. While they were doing it, they did 3 lots.
So moved. Second. 50 is here. All right, motion carried. 53. This is 25.7. The third one, what's the third one here, Mark? The third.
50 acres here. Got 25, 27.
Well, this is,
Got this guy right here.
well, there, I didn't see it, 7.7, okay. I couldn't find the side there. 7.7.
Yes, Yep. Both sides.
Okay.
Not in my world.
So we say, in other words, they're not guaranteed.
That's all I got.
Any progress with Michelle's building?
Yes.
Good.
Yeah, I've got everything but the plumber, got back with me and electrical. But
Fantastic.
main building, so concrete work, putting the structure up, which is two different people.
So did you do the design on that for her? Very nice, thank you.
Yes. So I am curious on how we want to approach, I mean, I'm basically kind of putting it together about how this works. How many people need to bid it? How's a project like that? I mean, how many, does it go out to public bid, or am I just putting this together and presenting a
Yeah.
package to you and it's just me presenting it? I don't know how that works.
We're gonna have to check with the,
And the one thing I am waiting on is I talked to the city of Decatur. Apparently you guys are buying a piece of the property.
right,
So they're trying to, I talked to Kurt Whitty, and he's trying to figure out what will need to happen as far as stormwater, development plan that shows how we're doing with stormwater, because that's all gonna be part of it. So I'm hoping to present, at least when they get their answers to me, I can say, you know, I'll talk to Miller Land Surveying or somebody like that, and say it's gonna, a rough number to do that be $2,000 or whatever.
Yeah.
That's part of the cost that she just had a pole barn quote from somebody, and I'm trying to get, we gotta send it to the state, so that's the engineer
Well,
drawing.
what I have always understood, if it's over an acre, it has to go to the state.
Well, it's, the building has
For
to go to the
storm,
state.
for storm, oh, the building has to
The
go.
building has to go through a design process.
But as far as stormwater,
Stormwater is 100% their call, the city's call
okay,
on that, yes.
right,
So our ordinance has you, when you do something that's 5,000 square foot or bigger on your building, or the combination of. So if you had another building that was big and you added one and everything was over 5, we could still do it. But ours is over 5, not, that doesn't include farm buildings, those are different.
oh,
But, you know, somebody builds, I built some that are 80 by 200, you know, but that's a farm building. But when it's commercial or, like that, and he was kind of worried about the amount of ground, because he, again, I don't know what you guys are trying to buy, but it sounded like it was just a big enough piece to put this on there.
well, it's,
But,
we're buying the whole corner, the whole grass area there.
okay, so it just depends on what that means, because he's like, well, you gotta have enough ground to deal with the stormwater, and he doesn't even know what that means yet. There's a Zimmerman that took over for their stormwater. I think it was first name, but that's who I was talking to, and he's the one kind of decided what we would need to do. So trying to get that figured out, maybe what they want from us, and then I can talk to Miller and say, this is what they're gonna want from us, and he can give me a quote that can be part of.
Because that's who they've got doing the survey, right?
Mhm. Yeah, it'd be the easiest way to go.
Yeah,
And so I don't know what kind of number that even looks like. I don't know what that means. Building itself,
well, hopefully we won't end up with retention ponds and all that stuff. Okay,
Yeah.
but thank you for doing it.
Yesterday.
what's that?
I found out what your job was about yesterday, you know, after I texted you those pictures.
Yeah.
They set the posts and I go, we didn't have none of those cement things at the bottom. And they go, well, they didn't send none. And I said, well, we should have went and got some. So they went out and looked and they found them. They pulled all the posts out and put them back in.
gosh.
They weren't excited, but they did.
Percent better.
They did. Just so you know, I did your job for you yesterday.
I was at, I don't know if you guys know what I did yesterday, but the city of Decatur and the fire department put on a seminar that was all day long, here in Decatur, and it was about safety, actually.
Oh,
How
cool.
to deal with people, how to mind your surroundings, because people are getting more dangerous in different parts of the world. I don't get too much of that, I guess. And so it was a full room. There was fire, police, there was people from Huntington, I mean, they came from all over
Wow,
to take the class. And everybody kind of headed it up. And, so that's where I was at from 9 to 3:30. But
yeah, Mark, a minute ago, we were talking about, he's helping Michelle with her building. So as far as bidding that out, how does that work? Like, does Michelle just, or,
We'll have to put together, as long as we know kind of an estimated cost, and we'll put together specs and do a bid package.
Okay, so right now, I've got solid numbers that for the cement, build the building, steel inside and out and insulated, and you're at the, 100, like 106 or 110 or somewhere in that neighborhood. Now that's, we still gotta figure stone, trenching, I don't know anymore where it sits exactly, so I don't know how much to tell somebody how much they need to haul in or haul out, so I don't know those things yet, so I know what you're buying.
Yeah.
And then the stormwater stuff, whatever that ends up taking to.
Will we have to tear that one building down?
Well, the thing Michelle gave me showed that it kind of went over the top of that, so yes. And that's the other part of it, you want to know, you want the whole cost, so you want to know how much it is to raise that, and then prep the spot, and then trench the trench. And some of those things I don't have, because I don't know the answers.
Let's get together this week or something and come over and we'll spec it all out, because we're acting like we're the general.
Right.
And so there's, the way we would bid it, we may not have to do bids, because if we're under 150, and we're gonna have different contractors.
Certainly.
So we could bid the cement, we could bid the, construction. So anyway, yeah, get with me, we'll figure it out.
Okay, and then while we're all talking, what's up with the contracts for Merck?
I've got to, as long as we're dry, I got to talk to, I just need to call Ed. I called that pallet company that you gave me, and they never called me back. Because I'm trying to get them scheduled, because we want them and Ed same day.
time.
Ed told me if he's got 48-hour notice, he's good.
They said the same thing. I know they asked for some updated pictures.
Okay.
So they could give us a better account of what they'll need to do. So I just maybe need to go out there, stamp a couple and send it to them, and they can give you an answer.
That'll be good.
So are you okay on the court order? Because we had to read,
Yeah, we got the order.
got a new one?
I haven't seen, you said.
Yeah, we do.
Okay,
Thanks.
very good. All right, Shelley, thanks for your patience. So, yeah, yeah.
Was everybody able to view the I sent?
Yeah.
I thought I'm gonna do that from now on as I talk to Steve.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot easier to be prepared that way.
Yeah, yeah, I kind of read through it. And
Okay, the first one's the formality. The Adams County Vote Center plan, anytime we have to do a change, we have to always file with the state how we're amending our plan. And for the 2023 general election, since we don't need as many vote centers or the days and times for a satellite. Also, nothing had ever been planned on our vote center with regard to two of them. One was a vote center in Swiss Village and one was a satellite for Woodcrest that will always be a travel board. But I will put it on a permanent amendment plan. This is the only amendment for this election for the November 7th, 2023.
so just to be clear, are we eliminating Swiss Village and Woodcrest as voting centers?
I believe from now on, we
Okay.
haven't used them as those since before 2020.
Okay,
So I just feel like that's a better option to just use them as travel board.
Okay.
But you'll see it again on amendment.
so when you say
for-
travel board, that's just,
They go there to take their
We go
votes.
there, once we receive that, while we get applications for the residents of that location. And then they'll be able to vote, just like on the payroll and everything like
Gotcha.
that.
okay.
We bring the booths and stuff, so. So basically, I present to you guys, that's the vote center plan amendment, if that's.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion carried.
The second thing I wanted just to discuss is the ordinance 2021-2, if we could amend that. What I'm presenting is just some language to be changed and then an increase. So under item 1F, instead of the 8 hours per day, since our early travel board and our absentee workers, they do an hourly, they're on a time clock system now. I'd rather change that to 40 hours per week, because that's what we do watch for when they're working. So they cannot exceed 40 hours per week
Instead of the 8 hours.
instead of the 8 hour per day, because they do get in there earlier. But usually they have a day off during that week, so they don't reach that 40-hour max. And that's what we look for, if that's okay with that.
Okay.
It's just that language. And then for G, I've discussed it with our election board members to change for election team workers to voting equipment workers, and that they would receive $50 a day instead of a $25 for election night assistant. The reason I'm requesting that is so that we can have workers to actually assist us with the voting equipment, because as you know, the poll workers are struggling to set up the equipment or taking it down and bring it back. So what I would like to do is try to get workers and entice them with at least something to help with that.
Well, that kind of looked like some of the equipment was heavier than what it had been.
I had a comment from one poll worker, of course, elderly, stating I do not want to help any no longer because I have to break it down and bring it back to the courthouse. And they're a very good worker, but they said if you could provide, set down the transportation or the pickup, the delivery, I would continue to work as a poll worker. So.
Okay.
About how many of those would you have, Shelley, on it? I guess depends on the
It-
election.
This one will be less, but for the 2024, if I get approved for new equipment, that heavier equipment, that heavier cases, it'll be a necessity, not only for that, but I'm just gonna get U-Hauls and
No, I've
stuff
got,
like
we gotta
that
change
for
the
the
order.
pickup
We need to
team
do
and the
ordinance.
delivery team.
I mean, this
I've
is.
got to
this is-
establish that, how to get these workers
Yeah.
to do that,
Yeah.
so they're not just
We'll
the
do a new
poll workers
ordinance.
themselves, but an actual team.
I have that number
Well, I don't have it.
if you need it.
I'll bring it.
Well,
back next
I mean,
week.
those changes seem appropriate. Are those the only two changes?
Yes, it
Like-
was.
Those seem appropriate to me, so.
a motion.
Okay,
Second.
all right.
All right, let me, we'll bring it back in the form of a new ordinance next week. What's the change then to F is,
Under G, it's gonna be voting equipment assistance.
election night assistance,
Workers.
the voting under G,
Yeah, shall receive 50 per day?
should say, is that where, well, I'll get with you
Okay,
after. We'll
sure,
get it,
that's
we'll get
fine.
it
If you
fixed and
want me
I'll get it back here in
Sure.
a form of an ordinance.
Then F, I think, was just language.
Okay.
Well, 40 hours instead of 8 hours a day.
Okay. We'll make those changes. Thanks,
Thank you.
Yep. All right, Mike?
Should I put that was tabled the next week or that they approved it and you'll bring it back?
Prove it's subject to.
Some of you may be aware.
adoption.
I have,
Like some of us that are on the drainage board?
yeah, on the drainage board, this morning has recommended my suggestion to put the interest that the county receives from the funds that they invest back into the drainage board funds, into the general improvement fund. So the drainage board has approved that process. I haven't started with the council, the commissioners, or the council attorney. State Board of Accounts has recommendations that she's looking at. It's in the statute, it can be done. So that's what I'm looking for right here is the commissioners approve this.
So the state board of accounts says that's the way it should be done.
Yeah, they suggested it and it's in this drainage statute. That
Okay,
it can be, the funds can be invested back from the maintenance funds into the general drainage.
okay.
I'll second that. Did Bree say she was gonna see if she could get like the highway department has that done?
Yeah, so that's what they're saying, Bree would like to see a one resolution wrote for all of the invested funds going to each separate.
Julie Marie is currently working on that resolution.
Okay.
How will that be? I mean, that's not gonna create an accounting nightmare for you guys, is it?
I mean, it'll be.
Or would it be more for the treasurer?
I mean, it goes, it can be done, state board said it can be done, we can handle it. just keeping in mind that that's money that will no longer go to county general, it'll go back to Mike's fund, which
The general drain improvement fund is where I'd like to have that. That's what the state suggested also, state work accounts, and that's the statute that it can be put into.
Okay.
So I mean, it's,
Working also with it to make it.
with Julie Marie's cleanup of the resolution covering anybody in the county like highway or whatever does that should make it easier to do.
Okay.
Then it'll have to go before council.
Yeah, I have an appointment with council next month on their next meeting. Sorry, the timeframe.
Yeah, it seems like it's more of a council decision rather than ours.
It is.
Yeah, that's
It
what
is. I think this is just, he wanted to get the blessing from you guys before he goes to council. It's really a council thing.
All right. Good.
Did you bring me those letters? Or did you bring me those letters?
Yes, I did.
Do we need, so, did we have a motion?
Yes,
you did.
All right, very good.
This is the paperwork outside of that.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
Mike, you want to do the maintenance money? What do you want? I didn't get that.
Yeah, so we have the maintenance funds, individual funds are all earning interest, and the general agreement improvement fund is also earning interest. And the intention is to put all the interest back into the general agreement improvement.
All the interest.
Interest, the invested interest.
And the maintenance back in the general improvement fund.
Yeah, general agreement improvement. Oh, okay, that's what it's called. And then we can use that fund to do individual projects for maintenance. Systems.
You're worked out well. Says yes.
All right, is that all you had, Mike?
Yes, that's all.
Okay, sounds good. Colton, you wanna come on out?
Morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
Morning.
Thank you again for the opportunity to come back up here. I sent you all an email so you know what I'm here for, and we've had this conversation in the past, but I do appreciate you allowing me to come and re-engage in this conversation. Again, here to talk about early learning and what we're trying to accomplish here in Adams County as well as Wells County in partnership. We have created this entity here, Imagine Early, which is what we've talked about. This entity is to a point where they are ready to hire a director, which is really kind of the impetus for me coming and having the conversation with you all. We're trying to get commitment from Wells County and Adams County commissioners to help seed this organization so that we can begin that hiring process. Wells County has committed the funds, $25,000 a year over the next 3 years to help get this organization off the ground. So we're looking and requesting again today that you all would consider that. Again, if you do commit, we are ready to start that hiring process in September. And so we're ready to make that happen. We have put together, or still in formation, we have our steering committee who's been working on this for, in Adams County, it's been several years. I think in Wells County, a little less than that, but they had their own steering committee, a coalition. We've combined those and we are populating a 9-member board for Adams County. That includes myself, Terry Hogue, who is a resident here in Decatur and a professor on early learning at Purdue Fort Wayne. So she's participating and will be on the board of this organization. I've also had conversations, I can't confirm yet, but an attorney locally to Adams County who would participate to help from a legal basis get this organization created, as well as manufacturing representation from Adams County. So that would be the board that we put together. One thing that I do have this time that I didn't have last time that I certainly want to mention, and I can email these to you, I don't have them printed out with me, is I do have letters of support. We have over 10 letters from different banks, manufacturers, various other employers, multiple school systems throughout the 2 communities saying this is important. What we're trying to accomplish, this is a need for them. They see the need. They're trying to do what they can to help. But having an individual that is a resource to our existing providers as well as any future providers is critical, and they support what we're trying to accomplish. I will note, I know I've mentioned it in the past,
For the EDC, we've been kind of championing this, and we've been able to think about it several times a week and work on it. And out of that, recently FCC announced their partnership with a provider down there to, do a lot of work on their facility so that they've got the ability to direct childcare for their employees. We also have the Merit Center getting ready to open. That grant was completed, $100,000. And so we've been able to have some impact in our work, but we think having a full-time person do this is just going to take that ball, run with it, and really create some lasting impact in our community. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have, but again, the request is $25,000 per year for the next 3 years to help seed this organization, get it off the ground, and then at that point, they would be doing their own fundraising. They would be looking at grants. They would be looking at a variety of models that could make this work. Kosciuszko County, Noble County are two counties who have a director in place. Huntington just hired a director, similar to what we're doing. And each of those models look differently. Kosciuszko County is a completely member-based model. In Noble County, they use their community foundation Lilly money to fund this as a priority for their community. And so it looks different in different communities. And for us, I think we're still trying to figure out what that could look like long-term. But we know we've got to get the organization off the ground and get some seed money so that we can figure all those things out. So that would be my request. Happy to answer questions.
Colton, just to refresh my memory, it's been a while since you were here. It's been a while since we've chatted about this, but this would be an individual that would assist early learning or childcare providers and potential providers in kind of working through licensing and certification and kind of be an ombudsman for that whole early learning and childcare industry that exists in Adams County and supports employers and supports parents in Adams County that are in need of childcare or of early learning support, but it would not compete with providers of this service. This is just a kind of a clearinghouse or information focal point for individuals that are providing. Would it also work for individuals that need childcare, or be primarily oriented towards assisting providers and potential providers of the service?
Yeah, you're absolutely correct on what exactly that looks like. To the second question there, primarily towards the providers.
Right.
But certainly this entity would, it'd have a website, it'd have a phone number where if I'm a parent looking for childcare, I could reach out to this entity, this individual, and say, hey, do you know where in Adams County do they have availability? And that individual should know that right off the top of their head and say, okay, we know Kings Kingdom has some availability, contact them. And so primarily for the providers, but they could fill that service as well to parents who may be needing that. And then also connecting them to the Child Care Resource Network, which already does that in our region. They have somebody that monitors that. And so they would be the first point of contact. I could then provide those resources. Primarily, though, working with existing providers for licensing, wanting to expand, and then helping any providers who are trying to get off the ground who want to start a child care facility, but they just don't know how, right? Starting a business is an overwhelming thing. And so if you've got somebody that can walk alongside you, that's super helpful and important. So that's what this individual would do. But they would not be creating their own child care facility competing with any existing providers at all. They would essentially be a resource similar to the EDC. I'm not starting an industrial company. I'm helping the existing ones and trying to bring in any new.
And the reason Adams County Economic Development is championing this is kind of that vision of improving our community as a place to live and work, and how that helps employers and potential employers that might be looking to relocate here. That quality of place, I think, is how you refer to it.
Yeah.
And how that has become more and more important from an economic development standpoint, and even outpacing the importance of shovel-ready sites and all the things that I used to think about when I thought about economic development. This has kind of become the new
Yeah.
the new approach to economic development is improving actually the living conditions of the residents such that it becomes a higher quality place to live and work.
Yeah, economic development has certainly been put more and more into more community development type of things as well, which is the quality of place. You still have the traditional economic development things, but in my time in this role in Adams County, coming up on 4 years, our board did a strategic assessment and plan early on, and childcare wasn't something we talked about. It wasn't a part of that. However, through COVID, we saw, okay, there is an issue here with parents, needing to be out of work for a while because of COVID and then trying to get back into the workforce. So, our existing employers, it's a factor for them and they're trying to be competitive and say, what benefits can we provide? But it is, somewhat of a talent attraction piece as well, not just existing employers, but when families are looking, where do we want to live and what do we want to do? The availability of childcare is huge. It can be an attractive thing. So if you are looking at a community and you can't find any availability, that's probably going to be a knock against that community. The same, with the opposite is if there is availability, that community is going to be a little more attractive. So certainly, I think it's a quality of place issue. It's an economic development issue of getting people into the workforce. And so it kind of runs across. But economic development itself it's always changing. We don't know what the next year, 2 years, 3 years are going to hold. You've seen strategic plans that, go from 5 years. Now we're doing them, every 2 years because things just change so quickly. So we've got to be able to adapt and what is the current issues and how do we help solve those.
I think you want 25,000 for the next 3 years committed to you. For
Per
this,
year.
yeah, for the next 3 years.
Yeah.
One thing, we don't have it in the budget, so we'd have to find the money somewhere. And the reason why I was not in favor of it before, which I will go with the idea if the motion is made, but I still have the criteria that is being taught was my biggest thing. And I'm still right there on the edge with it, but if I see the criteria in 2 years becomes an adversary, if I still have the pleasure of the people to sit here at this seat, I will do everything I can to end it.
Sure. I think
That's all I have to say.
Yeah, no, I totally understand. I think to that, I would just ask that we're mindful of this individual will have no say over what
Any curriculum or anything that happens inside the early learning environment.
What we have is there's no one size fits all when it comes to curriculum. If you're licensed by the state, then you have certain curriculum you have to meet. But this individual is helping that home provider.
Well, that was my only
They don't even have a requirement for any curriculum. They can do whatever they want if the parent is okay with that child going there. So we can't really put all of it into that one basket of, is their curriculum appropriate? I think it's something we should look at and consider, but your licensed centers and your home providers are all going to be different. Your ministry-based providers are different. And this individual is going to help all of them, right? That's their job, to help all of them and not, be beholden to any specific criteria.
Yeah, you'd have to amend your seated capital improvement plan. Is that right now, your last one you adopted in 22, and that allocated funds for 22 and 23. And I'd have to see what the council actually appropriated for 23. Seems to me like they maybe made a change.
Make it 24 also.
So you're suggesting if we approve this money, it would be a reallocation of our seated funds?
Yeah, it is. I mean, if it's seated, then it comes out of seated, and then you'd have to reallocate your seated spending, and then that's subject to council's appropriation. They appropriate the plan that you propose, or they modify it. So.
One of the things we've talked about, if we would decide to fund this, one of the things we've talked about is, I think I've proposed not giving quite so much to the sewer district. Historic So that would free up some money coming from that, what has been our $60,000 per year typical allocation to the sewer district. I think they're getting big enough now and financially stable enough now that I think we can begin to wean off that money. And that would be, and I would make a motion that we would support this and with the intention of reallocating some of those seeded funds to support this early learning.
What is our current allocation for economic development?
Well, 2023, let's see. Adams County Economic Development Corporation budget, 148,543. Northeast Indiana Regional Coordinating Council, $6,642. Sewer District, $60,000. Adams County Council on Aging Transportation Plan, $100,000. And then the rest goes to basically highway transportation plan, which is $688,722 for a total of $1,003,907. Right there's 2023 if you want to look at it.
I would assume that Mark, get you guys guided through the process, should you change any of that and deadlines and when it's done and how it's done.
Yeah, the commissioners are supposed to adopt a plan, spending plan for every 2 years. So we've got 22, 23. So you'll need to adopt a plan for 24, 25. I think the way it used to read, you adopt it, I think it's March or April of the new year. But I don't think there's any reason why you can't modify it at any time. You know, you could propose a modification to your current plan. In fact, I think you could probably propose a new plan for 24, 25 yet this year. Maybe it would be appropriate to do it here during budgets, so if you're going to reallocate it, then it wouldn't be because your seeded money that comes in, you're basically spending all of the seeded money that comes in. You don't have to spend it all. The statute reads that you're supposed to spend at least 75% of it every year, which I think most counties spend more than that. And I think there's been years where you've had monies that maybe it didn't get spent and it rolled over. Okay, so that's something we can take a look at, but you could propose a 24, 25 seated spending plan and reallocate that however you want. It's just subject to appropriation by the county council.
Well, I guess that would be the only thing I would ask if there is a motion to approve funding for this ask, is that the motion also included where the money would come from?
There were a couple more seated.
I mean, I would want that wording in the motion.
I put it in there.
Yeah.
Yep.
You get it, Tony?
Yeah, did you want to just say out of seed, or did you want to specifically say?
I would say reallocate not seated. Yeah, I mean, in my head, I think I
Just
know where it's coming
reallocation
from.
period.
But I think we can look at that whole seated funding plan for 2024.
I think you could simply have a motion to support the
Okay.
funding for the project, subject to reallocation of your seeded spending plan and approval by council.
Just for the record, I'd make a motion to support the early learning effort to the amount of $25,000 per year for the next 3 years. Funding to be provided through reallocation of our seeded plan.
Second time.
Okay, motion carries.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. I'll find that ordinance. Is that in is the appropriations for seeded in our budget worksheet, or is it not in that? I'm not
I don't think it's in the budget worksheet.
I'm not sure that it is.
I know the council they just reallocated lit and all of that. And they'll probably do that again next year because the state is changing some more things, but.
We'll see it, yeah, lit now includes seeded, so it's confusing. All right, I'll look for it here.
We could probably remind that fingertip. We'll send that information to you.
Did we have any updates on Golden Meadows? So I guess I would look to Shannon or Steve Bailey.
I don't know that I have anything to provide.
Not really. I mean, Brenda started last week and she's doing a great job. We're just kind of going through the day-to-day motions of, you know, whatever comes up. She kind of works together to
You
handle it.
mean Linda or Brenda?
Brenda,
Brenda Lewis?
Brenda Johns.
Johns, yeah,
Yep.
okay.
So she started on Wednesday and I've been out there every day except Friday.
Does she have set hours? Because we told her 25 to 30 hours a week.
Yeah, we have 30 hours in her agreement. So no, she doesn't necessarily have set hours right now. She's just kind of doing whatever we need her to do. But I think once she gets herself more into it, she'll be a little bit more structured. But she's killing it. She's kicking butt. Official. But that, yeah.
That's gonna be the headline.
Yeah.
Kicking ass and taking names. That's not how you said it, though.
Well, good. Is that, and it becoming an advantage to you as she gets more and more oriented as far as your time and
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
yourself not having to spend quite as much time out there?
Yeah, I mean, yesterday I focused primarily on HR work while I was there. So I was just physically there, but I was still doing my job, which is kind of what I've been doing anyways. And then if they have questions while I'm there, I answer them and I help and I do what I can. But yeah, I'll be able to pull back, but I'm still gonna probably spend maybe another month out there with her just to make sure she's really comfortable. Because there's some nuances that come up that don't come up very often. And then I'll be back in the annex more often.
Very good, thank you.
And I, just as a quickie, I guess, Andy has really stepped in from the financial management standpoint out there to the point where between Andy and what I think Brenda will be able to do once she's a signer on the resident checking account, I think my time out there is quickly winding to an end, so.
Right. And I would really like to see, if it's okay with you guys, Andy maintain what he's doing until the end. I think it would get too confusing to try to bring somebody else into the loop on the books, and he's got it under his belt, I think, now.
Yeah, he really adapted to that and understood it quickly. It was
So as long
much sharper than me.
as he's okay with it and you guys are okay with it, I would really like to see him stay and continue to do that work for us. And it only takes him 3 to 4 hours a week. It's not a ton, so.
And I think I envision a way that he wouldn't have to sign any checks, or Brenda would sign the checks and basically handle that piece of it. That he could actually print the checks, give us dual control out there, and I think between the two of them, I think they can handle it really well.
So that sounds like a pretty strong way to maintain internal controls.
I believe that, yeah.
Okay, very good.
It looks like the 2023 was approved and appropriated just like that ordinance. So what you see on that is the way it's set up.
So we would need to adopt a new 2024 ordinance.
But I'll get a hold of, we get our, we estimate it based upon what we think the collections are gonna be. So then when they actually come in, then the auditor's office, it gets allocated out. And the highway construction part is always kind of whatever's there, that's where it goes. So that's kind of the cleanup.
Yeah,
fund.
the rounding part.
Yeah.
It's a big rounding. But
And I don't know if in 22 and 23, do you know, Brad, if you've drawn down all of those seeded funds? Okay.
Yeah, we try to use them.
Okay.
All right. Mark, did you have anything?
Yeah, we've got certificate of appointment here then for Danielle Reed to the Community Mental Health Commission Board Member. which we talked about last week. I think you already approved, I think maybe you already approved her appointment. I just need you to sign that, so I'll send that down. That needs to get
You
signed.
just need one copy. I turn it off.
Well, I know I'll need to keep a copy of there because she'll have to come over and sign it.
All right.
But I'll just print one
That's
off
the
and let
same-
Mark take one too.
Well, I got one I printed off. Is that?
Yeah, you can
It's,
sign them both.
it's the same one you emailed.
Should be.
I go and sign them both if you want.
All right.
And then we've got
Appointments,
the,
they come over to our office.
this is the written or the client service agreement for USI, then to be your representative for our health benefit plan. So they'll be the service provider. You've reviewed that. Call, you selected USI after interviewing different firms for this service. Their fee is annual fee of $36,000. It's payable in quarterly installments, $9,000 each. I've reviewed the service agreement. Term is 3-year term. There's a 3% increase at each anniversary date. At the end of the 3-year term, it automatically renews unless for a 1-year term, unless you give 60 days prior notice. So we always have to be mindful of those renewals. My guess is if at the end of year 3, you're either going to be satisfied or not. And so if you're not, then we need to remember to the renewal provision. Other than that, I think everything looks good. There was one change. They
What
always,
would be the best way to remind ourselves of that 60 days?
Tell Brooke.
tell Brooke,
Yeah.
she'll put it on the master calendar.
Mark, is there any kind of early termination clause in there? If we got sideways and wanted to terminate it early, is there an out provision that would allow us to
If we
write
cancel
a
our,
check or whatever?
if we cancel our insurance plan, and decide to change the way we're doing it,
Right.
yeah. But yeah, that's,
I assume we may just have to pay the rest of the fees and walk away.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah, we pay
makes
up
sense
for
to me.
the time of
I
cancellation.
mean, I wouldn't like that. Works no way out. Shit, it's the ban.
The other,
Approve this month.
the only other change was, and they always try to slip these things in, says this agreement will be governed and construed in accordance with the laws of the state of New York. No, it won't. It's gonna be Indiana, so we should cross that out. So that's been changed. Other than that, though, I think it's all right.
Do you know, will they sign that?
What's that?
Will they sign that with that change?
Well, they've already signed it, and
Okay.
we'll send it back with our signature, and if they don't like it,
Okay.
then they'll have to tell us. Because that's the way we're signing it.
Deal.
So
Stan,
you wanna
any
tell 'em?
motion on that, or are we?
it's
we've already-
approved subject to, it's governed by the laws of the state of Indiana. I think
Yeah,
I'll put
I
that
don't
in
know
your
if we've
motion.
had a motion before this. I think we did in order for you, to direct you to do the paperwork.
So,
But,
whether you want something else or not.
but yeah, subject to the contract approval, I think, so.
I'll make a motion to enter into an agreement with USI, subject to the change of governing law of the state of Indiana.
Very good.
Second.
All right. Thought I was gonna have to poke him with a sharp stick. All right, motion carries.
All right. You want to?
It's USI, right?
USI.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it stands for.
Yes,
but-
yeah, forget some of the wording is good. Yes.
Yeah, they just go by USI. I don't think it's a long name abbreviated. It's USI.
I think exactly what something like that.
You can just make something up.
Wing it, what the hell, like usual.
Probably starts with United and ends in insurance. I don't know what the one S in the middle is.
Hey Shannon, did you talk to them any more about this? The one thing I think I would recommend to change on this termination is it says following the initial term of the agreement. The initial term is 3 years. Either party shall have the right to terminate this agreement upon 60 days prior notice. I think I want that to say following the initial 1 year, after the initial year of this agreement, rather than 3 years. Is that something that was part of the negotiation with them? It was not?
Not necessarily.
Okay,
But I can ask, we can do it next week.
I'll say make this approval subject to
Yeah, I like that.
after the initial, following the initial year.
You think they'll balk at that?
Well, I don't care. I think that needs to be said that
I
way.
wouldn't think so. It's
I
not,
don't-
they're
I don't
putting in
think so.
a bunch of, upfront investment in us or anything. They're just gonna fall right in on the arrangement that we've already got, so.
Okay.
I would think that unless their lawyers just say, no, that's the way we do it and we ain't changing it, but.
Yeah, because in the next sentence, it says, in the event of termination by client prior to expiration, the annual fee for the applicable renewal term will be deemed fully earned. Well, that could read 3 years.
Yeah, that's the way I would
and
read that.
We're not doing that.
Yeah.
So I would say, if you want to modify your motion to say, we'll approve this subject to the state of Indiana governing law, and it can be terminated after the initial 1 year on 60 days prior notice, then I think we're good.
I'll make that modification to the motion.
Second.
All right.
All right.
Let's see how the minutes turn out with that. Good luck with the minutes on that one, Tony.
Just refer them to the recording. See you recording.
And then it just signature here for chairman. So that can be signed. And then Shannon, if you want to send that back to him, and if there's a problem with it, let us know, and we'll have to talk more. But that hopefully won't be a big issue. Okay, so we got our certificate of appointment. Is this my copy, Tony, or our certificate of appointment?
Yes.
Okay. Did you see this fire and EMS fund transition? Is that going to be a problem?
I think Julie Marie sent that out to council and so forth. I don't know that it presents a problem for us particularly. I don't know if anyone, I mean, it might affect the township. I don't think we have anybody that has relatives on that, on fire.
Did you bring up that bill?
Well, it says there,
Additional.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes, I did. Mhm.
That they have to recuse themselves if they have a family member or if they serve on a public fire department.
no, this is something else. This has to do with the new House Enrolled Act 1540 or 1454 Fire and EMS Fund Transition. It says emergency medical services funds that will be eliminated. Emergency ambulance medical services, fire, emergency medical services equipment, emergency ambulance medical services civil, and then new funds that'll be added. Township firefighting, township municipal, county emergency medical services. It looks to me like it's just a change in the numbers and the designation of the funds. Maybe it's not a big deal.
I don't think it affects us particularly that much. But yeah, we're aware of it.
Counties, using 1101 emergency ambulance medical services fire or 1401 emergency ambulance medical services civil will need to transition to 1116 county emergency medical services. It looks to me like they're just combining those funds, but anyway, that, I think, got that.
I'd have to agree, but I know we have copies of that because Julie Marie sent it to everybody
Okay.
for FYI purposes.
And then I know there's an outstanding question about maintenance of unimproved alleys for legacy subdivisions in the county, old subdivisions. And so we're doing some research on that now. I can tell you that those, talking with Brad, the county does not maintain unimproved alleys in old subdivisions.
Are you talking like Monroe, Burns?
It's like Lynn Grove,
Oh,
Pleasant Mills.
Yost Woods?
Oakwood is taken care of because those are actual streets that are dedicated, and the county built them and does maintain them. But there are older subdivisions out there, like example would be Andrews Addition has some. Actually, Andrews Addition is a platted street.
Real Acres.
We do maintain Andrews
Yeah, we
Addition.
should maintain that, like Real Acres. The streets they have in there, we do maintain, but that thing is, we call it plotted out for a lot more streets, well, nobody ever did anything with it. So that brings into the question then, where we don't do anything with it, we're not gonna maintain it.
You don't want to assume a duty of maintaining something you don't currently maintain. And so anyway, I'm going to do some more research on it. I thought I would find more stuff. Most of the case law, most of what I'm finding is from early 1900s, 1850s. There's some really old stuff out there. I think primarily because when those settlements, I guess, when they were laid out, like Lynn Grove, and I've asked Deb Hawkins in our office to actually pull the original plat for Lynn Grove. I want to see the plat and how it was dedicated and how it was laid out. That predated zoning ordinances and subdivision control ordinances in the county. So you had individuals that said, hey, let's build a town, or let's build a settlement. Pleasant Mills is another example. Okay, when you pull up Pleasant Mills, there's all kinds of alleyways that are platted and they're listed as right of way, but they're not improved. It's just grass. And so trees grow up. I can tell you people build sheds encroach. People build across lines. They put campers and they park cars, and in all reality, it's a right of way. So there's still a right of ingress egress there. So you can't block it. But if you park a camper there and your neighbor doesn't say anything about it, then okay, it's there. Now, adverse possession does not run against a governmental entity. So if you park your car, or you even plant a tree, or you move your shed over into that platted alley that's unimproved, you can't say, well, I now own it, okay? Because adverse possession does not run against a governmental entity's right of way, okay, or a platted alley like that. But the fact that it's there doesn't mean either that if it's unimproved, the county has no duty to improve it. And so anyway, we're just kind of wrestling with this whole thing because the question for the individual in Lynn Grove has countywide implications, because there are a lot of these types of unimproved platted alleys all over in these old settlements.
I'm curious what brought this issue up.
I think it's trees.
Freezing, yeah, with
Oh, okay.
It's coming over onto his garage.
Have you
Gotcha.
ever seen all the streets as ceiling?
Mm-mm.
You know what? I live on High Street here, and I looked at an old plat of ceiling, and when I was raised, I lived on High Street ceiling.
Yeah.
There's all kind of streets that's all built up and sealed.
It's his responsibility other than that.
At this point, I mean, you know, the county hasn't ever maintained it, and if you wanna, you know, how do you assume the duty to maintain that one and not the rest?
Is the tree, the tree that's producing the ingress into this guy's, is that actually in the alleyway or is it on another person's property?
It's in the alleyway.
There's actually three of them. They are right in the alleyway.
Right in the alleyway, and they probably grew since 1900 when it was platted. Wouldn't you say, Brad?
Yeah, Lynn Grove, that's.
Wouldn't you say the 3 trees probably grew in 1900 when it was platted?
Yeah, and if the two, and not trying to be mean, but if the two neighbors that live on each side of that would have taken care of them through the years, you wouldn't have this issue.
Right.
And as far as that goes, I think, you know, you could, perhaps the county adopts a resolution just clarifying that, look, we don't maintain it, and if there's any nuisance in those alleys, the property owners can abate the nuisance.
Okay, so the property owner, with that ordinance, and the property owner could go in and trim the tree himself, even though it's on our property.
Mhm.
Maybe that's, I like that.
And then that brings forth the rest of the issue because they're big. Even with our equipment, we looked at it, we couldn't do it.
Yeah.
We'd have to hire it out. You're talking big money.
It's not, and I'll clarify, that is not, it's not in the name of the county, okay, but it's just a platted right-of-way, which means the public use. And so the county has never improved it, and so you've not,
Does it make a difference if it's used as a utility easement also?
utilities still have the right to be in there, but that's the utilities' responsibility to maintain. So if there were overhead power lines running through there, then AEP has the right to come through and trim those trees, and they do. My guess is there isn't in this particular one. But yeah, maybe we need a resolution or an ordinance maybe that clarifies what the county's responsibility is or is not, and what the homeowners can and cannot, what property owners can do.
I told Brad I was sending him and Dan out. I wasn't going back out.
Who do you think they'd be more scared of?
Brad.
No.
No. Give me a benefit of the doubt.
So, yeah.
So the question to us right now, the property owners are wanting us to do
Because
something.
it's in the alleyway. Yes.
And so what you're saying is it's not our
The
responsibility.
tree's coming down on the one property owner's building, and
So,
Simply because the plat of Lynn Grove was approved by the county back whenever, 19 whatever, did not, you know, the county never took, it was a private development that was approved with those platted right-of-ways. And now I don't know if the county built any of the streets. I know you maintain the streets that are paved, you maintain, but the actual alleyways, the county doesn't improve alleyways. They're simply on the plat to allow owners to have access for utilities and ingress egress, but it's not something that the county affirmatively says, okay, now we're going to maintain these alleys. You'd have to hire 2 to 3 more full-time employees and buy, you know, bucket trucks and tree trimming equipment. That makes no sense. And it's not an improved street.
so maybe for the sake of this situation, we need to clarify that with, like you say, with a resolution that says this is not our responsibility.
Probably an ordinance that says as to unimproved platted right-of-way or alleys, you know, the county does not maintain those, and that's
so we want.
it's up to the
So
landowner.
something you could bring to us then for,
Yeah, I want to finish the research on it, but yeah, I think that's kind of where we're headed.
good deal.
That'd be a resolution, not an ordinance.
I'm not sure, it might be an ordinance, I haven't decided how we do it yet.
Either one.
Might do it as an ordinance. Yeah, and you know, when you look at your roads too, there's, when you look at Monmouth and see how Monmouth was laid out, Monmouth was not platted as a subdivision. Okay, in Monmouth, everybody owns to the center of the road. Okay, in fact, most county roads, when you look at county roads, that's not platted as right-of-way. And the property owner owns to the center line of the road in generally, because for the most part, all the roads were laid out on the surveyed section lines. And so you own to the center of the road, you only pay property taxes on $1 of right-of-way. Okay, so, but it's subject to your property, and when you look at your deed, your deed will say, subject to all rights of way, streets, easements of record, restrictions of record. So that means you bought it subject to that county's road right of way. And so, but when like Pleasant Mills was laid out, that was platted. And so when it was developed, that was done, there wasn't a subdivision ordinance at the time. There was just somebody hired a surveyor platted it. And when you plat it, you're now referring to your ground by a lot number and not by a meets and bounds survey. So it's an actual lot number. So lot number 1 in the town of Pleasant Mills, according to the plat of whoever it was, recorded back in 1858. And so that's how you now own that. And then the right-of-ways that were dedicated on that plat are there. And so there's alleys, and most of them are unimproved, but that would be for utilities and.
See, like in
whatever.
Monmouth, you got Pickway, so between Pickway Road and 850 North, there's a road, it's labeled as Eagle Road. So is that a road that we?
Yes, that is a road.
So that's not an alleyway or
No, that
anything,
is
that's
a-
an actual
Street.
street.
Right. So the county, yeah, so if the county, improved it, and not all of these things happen the same way. In fact, probably none of them were developed the same way. It's a patchwork. And so that's just how growth occurred. And that's why is Pleasant Mills where it's at? Because back then, if you wanted to have a settlement with a lot of houses together on small lots, you build it near a river because that's where your sewer goes.
That's where the sawmill was.
But, indoor plumbing, there wasn't room for on-site septic systems. There wasn't such a thing. That's why most towns and cities, have grown up and developed around rivers and streams because that's how they got rid of their sewage. And that's why we form a sewer district.
It was part of an Indian trail that started in Mount Pelier at a reservation there and went to Bobo, to the reservation just north of Bobo. It connected those from Mount Pelier to there.
So,
When you drive down Salem Road, you're going like this a lot.
back when Stephen Decatur came here and whatever he did, they didn't settle here because it was the St. Mary's River. You had a river. Same thing with Fort Wayne, 3 rivers.
No extra charge for the history lesson.
Yeah, I'm not putting it in the minutes, so you can watch the recording. Eric might put it all in his.
No.
Well, anyway, but
All the
that's,
Germans took the.
We're going all the way back to
north
Stephen
part.
Decatur, for God's sake.
well, we've had that discussion at many sewer board meetings for sure.
The Germans were like, look at all these good trees.
So anyway, we'll put something together. Impressive.
Is this anything we want to talk about or not?
I'm working on that right now with Julie Marie, so that's all I got.
Okay. Shannon, did you have anything for us? All right, gentlemen, anything else?
Yeah, I have one thing. Upper Wabash River Basin Commission, back in 2007, the commissioners wrote a letter to them that they were going to support the 319, and it's due again. And I have proposed that is it oppose? Propose. Which is it? Propose. I propose that we donate another $1,000 and use of room 25 for a couple of meetings and get a letter out to them and send it. I got a copy of the letter that was given to them in 2000. I'm sure you.
Yeah, call our office to reserve that room.
Yes, that's put in there. This is the letter from 2007. And this is the letter that the drainage board is giving to them. Have you seen it, that letter?
Yes.
Would that board meet here then, Steve? That's what.
That board would meet here for this is approved, but no, it meets at Bluffton in the library.
Okay, okay.
Every other
Once-
month.
Once a year, twice a year, how often would it be here?
Every other, just 2 times.
Two times a year.
Yeah.
So currently, we are supporting the Upper Wabash with funding,
Yes,
and that is how much?
2,000 a year.
Okay,
And I just propose that we give them another 1,000 for this 319 and give them rent free on room 125 twice a year for the next 3 years.
So that would increase our contribution from 2,000 to 3,000.
Just this year.
Okay, just this year.
Just this year.
does that also come out of seeded money or where? No, that's a budget.
That comes out of the budget.
That's a budget line
Yes.
item.
And I'm not for sure where we can find this extra 1,000.
Because
This would
we've
be for
got,
2024 then?
Yes,
Okay.
because we've got the Maumee River Basin.
that's the old letter from
Okay,
2007.
gotcha.
There was a price increase on something.
Oh, here we
else.
go. Upper Wabash River Basin Commission, 2009.
Yeah. They do a lot for us and they saved us a lot of money on 1,100 and 1,200. And,
So if we did that, we'd probably have to ask for an additional appropriation then for that funding, I suppose.
Unless we go ahead and change our budget request for budget hearings next week.
Yeah, it's already been advertised. I don't know if we can ask for more than that.
Just move it around. Probably, I don't know whether there's a, I don't know, Stan.
Yeah, because we've also got the St. Mary's Wabash River coming up. So I don't know how that's going, but. So
I'll
we
make a
could,
motion for that.
so we could look at that pending funding.
Yeah.
For the additional $1,000.
I would second that motion. And we're just trying to figure out where to find the money. Yeah.
Okay. All right, motion carried.
Thank you,
So
Mayor.
how many, just out of curiosity, how many miles of Wabash do we have in the county?
You're gonna ask me that.
If you just need to add that to the current lines being paid up, you can put that in your budget. You're gonna go over on 28.
Okay. Then we can add an additional,
Well, for your new budget, if this isn't until 24,
right?
then yeah, when whoever's coming on the 28th, you could add that to the budget that you're presenting.
To the request.
And there was another group that went up too, and I'm trying to figure out who it was.
And I didn't know since they had advertised already. if we could do that.
No, it's fine because the budget process, even if it's been advertised, the budget process is a budget process and you still can make changes all the way up until the budget is actually approved in October or whatever it was. So,
Doesn't have the mileage, but there's Wabash River. Right here.
Okay.
And it goes up.
I do know that the St. Mary's River cost sharing program, that went up $500, I think, for what it previously had been. I don't know if that comes out of that.
You mean the
same line or
Maumee
not.
River Basin or?
You want a copy?
I'll have to look.
Is that your only
That's
copy?
my only copy.
Yeah, I'd hang on to that. I'd have to look at what our budget was last year. Yeah, Maumee River Basin was at 24,750.
You want to type up a letter like that? so I can get to Abigail.
So in order to let them,
Here, this one, you can have that one, but could you check out a letter, something like this? So I can get to Abigail.
from the commissioners,
Yes, from the commissioners.
yeah, kind of basically,
Tell them what we're doing.
yeah.
I'd appreciate it.
I mean, that'd be appropriate, wouldn't it? Just send them a letter of support saying that we're going to approve the additional funding.
The money, that's 25.
There's a letter signed by Steve
We
Baum.
did 20,000 a year starting in 2024, 3 years.
If they send an invoice or whatever, we'll know that it's.
Well, no, this is, they're not gonna invoice. This is extra above and beyond for that 319
gotcha.
project.
What's it for?
Upper Wabash.
Yeah, I mean, just as long as you've got something in the commissioner's budget you can pull from. And you might have.
You have your thing open.
Yeah, I don't know that there's
What
anything.
lines, I think it might be consulting fees, it could, whatever, wherever you have listed there for, if you have over Wabash or NIRC,
yeah,
there's
the-
several of them.
The upper Wabash is $2,000.
So if you're adding another 1,000,
Would be
probably.
just
wanna
this
add
year's,
into that.
and that wouldn't be it would be for this 319
Because you
project.
also have the Maumee River Basin, the St. Mary's River Gauge, you have 3 in there. That might be enough. They went up by almost $500 from last year. But I think that might still enough.
You can let them know the commissioners are in support of, this funding level or this request, this funding level, subject to, appropriations and transfers in our budget. And I think you probably have money in the budget you can transfer.
I think so. Stan, if you want to run up, when you get done today, before you leave, run up and read those different lines of how much we're looking at and see if we need to transfer or whatever. You should be able to get that done.
Yeah.
It should be a simple matter.
I'll let
When you come to
know.
budgets, just tell them, for the budget that goes in, you might need that extra in there. Unless there's another line we can take some from. Like I said, St. Mary's went up by $471 actually.
I have nothing else then.
Stan, I have one thing that I'd like to bring up also.
Okay.
Sometime back, we got a proposal from MLS Engineering, Brett Miller, to do what he referred to as a site investigation report for our land that we own out around the jail. His proposal at that time, and it's probably expired by now, but we could get to freshen that up. His proposal was for $6,000. He would do basically a developmental plan for that land out there to help us understand what land could be utilized for what purposes and what land was wasteland and how much improvement we would need in order to access some of that land out there. I guess as we've talked about various opportunities to develop that land out there or have other people use it or whatever, in my head, it would be nice if we had a developmental plan that said, yep, here's a 20-acre piece we could talk about. Here's 40 acres we could talk about. Nope, that 60 acres is not accessible, or here's what it would take to make that land accessible with an easement or an access or a bridge or whatever that might be. And I think for that amount of money, MLS would give us a plan that says in their engineering estimate, here's what you could use and here's what it would cost for you to get it to that usable function, not including utilities, not including things like that, but just access and it seems like we've got over 100 acres there, but I don't know how much of it is actually usable for improvements. And I think that would help us better understand what of that area was usable. I think this could be an ARPA request, honestly. I don't know the answer to that, and I'm not talking to Julie Marie about that, but to me, I think we have an asset there that we really don't know what we have. This would help us really understand how that ground could be used for whatever future
Well,
purposes we might have.
I think that's a great idea because I've always been in favor of not selling off that land for the sake of being directly adjacent to the city limits of Decatur.
I agree.
So I have always seen that as a real positive thing for development. But since so much of it sits in floodplain and it's restricted for building, you know, it's limited in that way. But, you know, and it's limited in access to the bypass down there. So we're
The best
Kinda
if that
like-
street went straight through.
so I see that property as having development potential, but without that study, it's hard to know what that
Yeah,
potential
I don't know whether
is.
we've got 20 acres there or 60 acres that could be utilized for some kind of improvement, whether it be county-owned or some other type of improvement.
Right.
And in my vision, I see a need for it. I would not want us to get rid of that ground. That's, obviously, we've got the jail there, and we've got some investment there that we want to protect. and
There
potentially
again,
improve.
we'll have to, if we do it as an ARPA request, because there again, looking at the budget, I don't see anything.
Yeah, I guess I would, if the commissioners would support that, I would work with Julie to get an ARPA request put together so that we could take that to council and have that become part of their ARPA.
Yeah,
Do you need a motion on that?
if you would, both see if Brett would freshen that up and
I'll
then
do
work
that.
with Julie Marie as far as funding, I would sure support that.
I'll do that. I'll make that motion.
Second.
Yeah.
Good deal. That's all I have.
Anything else from the general public? That doesn't have a tape recorder in his hand.
On page 14.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All right.